Hi, I'm Pranoti, host of Under the Microscope, owner of the Science Talk. Welcome to the special episode of 2022 review of Under the Microscope. The review, okay? So, for new listeners, welcome. And if you haven't subscribed already to the Science Talk YouTube channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Please, please, please. This helps us with getting more and more wider audience. Our goal is to reach 500 subscribers. We are at 365 the last time I checked, so please go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you are watching this video on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Podcatcher, Amazon Music, wherever, please make sure that you're following the podcast and also leaving a review. This means a lot to us. This is for free. You don't have to do anything. You just have to go to the star thingy, click on the star and give us a 4 or 5 or 1. Please don't give us 1 as a rating. If you feel like we deserve 1 as a rating, please move on to the next podcast. Thank you very much. All right. So first things first, the structure. This is quite confusing for a lot of people. So there are three main keywords or keywords that you hear, and those are the Science Talk, Under the Microscope, Real Scientist Nano. Okay, so everything that happens from our team happens under the umbrella of the Science Talk. The Science Talk is something that I started in 2018, so it's about 5 years, close to 5 years old, and it's essentially a science communication platform. Okay, that's important. It's a science communication platform. In 2022, major chunk of our energy went into this beloved project of ours, which is just thriving since it started. It is the material science project, because of course I'm a material scientist, special place in my heart. So yeah, this material science project, it's a 2-part project. One is that you're watching or listening to right now, which is the podcast Under the Microscope. And we are very close to 200 episodes. Hopefully soon we will reach the 200 episode. I think we are 2 episodes away from 200. And so yeah, that's one, Under the Microscope, to which you have already subscribed either on YouTube through the Science Talk YouTube channel, or already followed on your favorite podcast platform. That is one part, and the other part is Real Scientist Nano Twitter account. So every guest on the Under the Microscope podcast also takes over the Real Scientist Nano Twitter account for 1 week, where they talk about their science, their research, their scientific journey, their favorite experiment, it's everything, basically everything. And it's a lot of fun to meet a new scientist, new materials and nanoscientists from around the world, from different pockets of material science on a regular basis. So yeah, that's basically it. The Science Talk is the main umbrella under which we have Under the Microscope, Real Scientist Nano, and we also have a bunch of other projects, which is something I'm not going to talk about at this point. Alrighty, so a lot happened in 2022, and it's good that I have this script written down. It's like a 2-page doc. It's quite a lot, so buckle in, grab your cocoa or coffee or tea or food or wine or whatever. I have my coffee here, decaf, of course. So yeah, because a lot happened, and usually I don't write a script, but for this particular one, I had to write a script because I was pretty sure I will forget several milestones or pitfalls if I don't write the script. So I went month by month, went through our team meeting minutes, went through the Twitter account, the YouTube, the Anchor, the platform that we use for the podcast, so on and so forth. And before we get started, I do want to share a few numbers with you of the performance, because I'm a very data driven sort of a person. For me, data is like numbers. It's like So I did some analysis, or I extracted some numbers, and it's quite interesting. So three main numbers I want to share, or four main numbers I want to share with you at this point. First one is, I wouldn't say a pitfall, but it is definitely a challenge in 2022, and that is, we started the year with a team of 6, including me. And we are ending the year 2022 with a team of 2. So we basically downsized the team. We had to downsize the team for multiple reasons, and I will get into the details later on. So that was the first set of numbers I wanted to share with you. The second is that we had 21 guests in 2022 from different parts of the world, different pockets of material science, and all these wonderful 21 guests. Oh my god, they were so cool. Oh my god. Please go ahead, go back in time if you want to, scroll down or up, depending on your sorting function, and do listen to those amazing listen to our amazing guests. They were so cool. So 21 guests in 2022 is quite a milestone, and we are very proud of that number. So that's the second number I wanted to share with you, data set I wanted to share with you. And the third one is that these 21 guests who feature on the Under the Microscope podcast, we migrated earlier this year to a podcast consuming platforms. I'll get into more details of that, but essentially in the last 2 weeks, actually, or last 2 or 3 weeks, the audience is basically growing, and it makes me so happy. And we are over the 700 plays on the 6 different platforms for the podcast only. This does not include the YouTube numbers. Okay, those numbers are way higher, of course. But that was also something really cool, because all these numbers that I'm sharing with you, all of these numbers are organic. We do not do any kind of paid advertisement or promotion or whatever. That was the third number. And the fourth number, this is the big one I showed for the last. So I mentioned Real Scientist Nano, RSN Twitter account, curated or hosted by 21 different hosts, 21 different weeks over the course of 2022. We also had admins, we also put out a lot of stuff. Basically the impressions of all of these tweets, oh my god, in 2022, oh my god, this is so big. I really had to sit down and calculate and double check the numbers, but I was so excited, or I am so excited. We reached close to 1 million impressions in 2022. 1 million, can you believe it? 1 million. How many zeros does it have? A lot. Oh my god. That's the fourth number I wanted to share with you as a success, so to say. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, pitfalls and milestones, because no journey is straightforward. Actually, a straight flat journey would be quite boring, and only with highlights will also be boring. So it's like pitfalls going up and down and up and down. So all right, let's get into the review section. So 2022, January, let's go month by month. In January, a lot of back-end work happened. So we wanted to transfer, first of all, we wanted to find a platform which is reasonable, which will host the podcast, host our podcast. So a lot of back-end work went into that, and I want to give a special shout out to my teammate and my close friend, was my teammate, Lucia, who did a bunch of work. She basically led this project of finding a platform which will host our podcast and also then make our podcast more widely available. That was one major chunk of back-end work that we did, or the team did, and the second one was revamping the website. thesciencetalk.com, the Science Talk website, and it was a lot of work. For the podcasts, it was essential to have an RSS feed so that people can find us. People can add them to their favorite channel or whatever platform or whatever. So a very, very special thank you to Lucia, who is a rock star. A very, very, very big thank you from the bottom of my heart for leading this project and making it happen. And just so you know, all of these things that I'm mentioning from January to December, everything that I mentioned is in addition to running the Twitter account and the podcast series, okay? Business as usual, running the Twitter account, running the podcast, recording the podcast, editing the podcast, finding curators, scheduling the curators, all of that happens at all times. I haven't included that as part of the highlights or pitfalls, so to say. But just so you know, that is something that is an ongoing thing that happens on a regular basis, that everything that I'm going to mention in this episode is like in addition or in parallel to all of that. Alrighty, so in February, March, we started putting a plan together for regular blog posts. So by this time, the website was revamped, the sciencetalk.com website was revamped. The realscientistnano.org, which was the earlier website, the old website, all that content was also migrated or absorbed in the sciencetalk.com. So the TST website, TST is the Science Talk, and very productive February and March, I must say. By these 2 months, we were like, it was basically a transition, and I must say this at this point. I think that all the projects that happen at the Science Talk, they are more like waterfall sort of timelines and not really like blocks of timelines, unless there is like a time limit or there is some content or campaign that is time sensitive. Usually these are waterfall sort of. So what waterfall means is that the project does not just go from, I don't know, mid of January to mid of February, but it goes over the course of time in parallel to the other projects as well. So in February and March, moving the podcasts, the old podcast on Anchor, which is the podcast hosting platform that we agreed upon, and the other thing was the regular blog post. And one of the main categories that we wanted to start with is to get news or blogs about where are our previous curators, so where are they at, because we were gonna reach 100 curators soon, and it's quite a lot of curators to keep track of. So and in a scientist's life, there is always some or the other thing is happening, new paper, promotion, conference, or defending the thesis, or getting habilitation, or stuff like that. So we started doing that, and our teammate Johanna, special shout out to her, as she led this project, and she came up with this quirky name, Keeping Up with the Curators. It was so cool. Oh my god, I love that name. Keeping Up with the Curators. Yeah, it's really cool. It basically goes to show that at the Science Talk team, we are all super quirky and fun and crazy. And yeah, crazier the better, of course, as long as we are having fun and we are promoting and nourishing and growing the science communication platform. All right, so over the course of March and April, then we continue to put the old or from the vault sort of episodes of Under the Microscope on Anchor. And in April, we also started a Twitter list called Real Scientist Nano Curators. So these close to 100, more than 100 at this point right now, 100 guests. So if you are interested in their science, their life as a scientist, or them personally, our curators, then you can also just follow this list and you will get like a curated timeline or curated feed of science content, because on Real Scientist Nano the guests are only hosting the RSN Twitter account for 1 week. But if you want to keep in touch with the curators and keep tabs on what's happening, then following the Real Scientist Nano curators list is the best thing to do. That is on Twitter. Alrighty, so in May and June, so we are very close to the halfway point. So yeah, we started looking into different platforms or different channels to continue communicating with our community, and that's when that's also when I think it was the beginning of June. I think when Susie from Ansto in Australia down south, she was curating the account. We crossed 3,000 followers, woo, woo, woo. And we also ended up writing a blog post about it, like the most popular material science rocker account on Twitter. Woo. It was quite cool, quite interesting. We are a digital platform, and a lot of work goes into creating the beautiful graphics, beautiful videos, beautiful reels, shorts, whatever you call it, any kind of media basically. And we have been using Canva. So I have been using Canva since the last 5 years, since the Science Talk basically started. And of course, for free, the free version of Canva is amazing. You have access to lots of templates, lots of pictures, lots. However, we had reached a point where we need more features, the premium content. So we reached out to Canva, and they were gracious enough to grant us access to the pro version. So thank you very much, Canva, again, for the pro version. As we are a non-profit, as we are not making any profits or any money, it's more that we are putting in the money or effort or time in maintaining this account. So any sort of free software or app that we can get our hands on is very, very helpful. So thank you again, Canva. And we also penned down an official thank you note, and you can read it in the show notes. So yeah, that's basically what happened over the first 6 months of 2022. And I think now is also a very good time for me to mention or address the challenge that I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, which is downsizing the team from 6 to 2. What a lot of you probably don't know is that the Science Talk is run completely by volunteers, unpaid volunteers, and all the teammates have their own day jobs which are paying their bills. Be it making satellites, doing science, doing some other stuff. So yeah, that's basically their day jobs. And if after the day job, if they have the time and energy to put in another project, except their personal life, of course, then they put in that work in the Science Talk. So yeah, that's something that needs to be addressed, or rather that needs to be said. And me as the owner of the Science Talk, I feel like it is my duty, or it is my responsibility to make sure that the volunteers or the teammates are compensated. And I am looking into avenues, and we do have some very interesting business models in mind. And yeah, I will talk more about that for the rest of like the second half of 2022. So yeah, that's basically it. The Science Talk is a platform run by volunteers, unpaid volunteers. So yeah, that's about it. Okay, let's continue with the review. In July, we had a very interesting post by one of our teammates, Svenya, and she read this book, Lessons in Chemistry, and we were like, oh yeah, what kind of different blog posts can we do? So of course we had keeping up with the curators, and then we were just brainstorming in our team call, and Svenya was like, hey, I can write a book review, and I'm like, yes, please go for it. And oh, it was so cool. So in July that was posted. The link is in the show notes if you missed it. And a few days after that, I think a few days or a week after that or something, I stumbled upon this post that, hey, the Lessons in Chemistry book by Bonnie Garmus is being adapted into a show by Apple TV. And guess who's leading that project? Guess who's starring in that project? None other than Captain Marvel. So Brie Larson, who is a fantastic actor, and she's one of my favorites, honestly, in the Avengers. Yeah, she's in the Avengers world, not the Marvel world. No. Avengers Avengers are part of DC. She's not in DC. She's in Avengers. Wonder Woman is DC. Yes. So yeah, that was quite a sweet surprise for us. We did not know that this is happening. So this was quite a good timing, I must say. So yeah, that was a highlight of July. Another highlight of July, at the end of July, was I attended this virtual event organized by Think in Color. It had fantastic speaker lineup and super inspiring women, and that was really cool. And that was kind of a catalyst, or like the last push that I needed to start thinking about the Science Talk in terms of business or money, financially independent or sustainable sort of a project. So that was July. And thinking about that, of course, finding different avenues, so on and so forth. So in July and August, I also started looking into Patreon. As we started losing our teammates, of course, they had their life, they had their jobs, they had other priorities, which is completely understandable, and they did not have the capacity to support the Science Talk, the project. Completely understandable. So very soon I realized that if I want to have team mates for like longer duration or like particular commitments, then of course I should be able to pay them. Of course, I cannot pay them out of my own pocket because I'm already bearing costs for everything else, be it just with the website hosting and different softwares, all the other shit that needs to go. Sorry, I said shit. That's fine. It's my podcast. I can do whatever I want. So yeah, in August, I think, is when we started Patreon. We joined rather Patreon, and we made it open. So we have 3 models on Patreon: Nano, Micro, and Macro. So it's essentially, Nano is I think €3 per month. Micro is €5 per month, and Macro is I think €10 per month or something like that, or 8, I don't remember exactly. It was a long time ago. And in August we also officially opened our doors to join the mailing list of the Science Talk, and this was led by Johanna again. A fantastic job she did, and that was really cool. So sign up if you haven't already to our mailing list. The link is in the show notes, so please go ahead and sign up for regular dose of content, regular dose of science. I should know what I'm doing. Another thing that happened in August is I started experimenting with different types of content, including blog posts, of course. I also started putting out shorts or reels, and like shorter videos, like cropped videos, sort of like highlights and stuff, on different platforms. So I put it also on TikTok, so on YouTube, Instagram, in form of a post, in form of a reel, in form of a story, and wow, that did work. There is definitely an appetite for short form content, and that is something that we are gonna go ahead, scale up, basically, for sure, because there is definitely appetite. It's not about the food that you're serving, it's also about how you're serving it and in which way you're serving it, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's something that we figured out. That brings us to September 2022, and at this point we are September, October, November, December. So yeah, we are 75% through the year 2022. By September, we had all our podcasts on Anchor. TST was on Patreon. The mailing list was populating. It was gaining popularity. And I was actively working on developing business models for institutions and sponsors. And I really had to tap into this product management mind of mine and experience of mine. And also the marketing strategy or strategic marketing skills to come up with some attractive offerings. That's basically what I started putting a lot of energy into in September. Most of the October was then spent in creating and testing different kinds of short content on the different platforms, the different social media platforms that we have, and also developing and polishing the business models or emails or any kind of communication, because that is something which is very important to remember, that your first email that you write or the first business model that you come up with or the first slide deck that you come up with will never be the best, and you do need to improve it or polish it as you go, because you get very interesting kind of questions when you actually start going to the market. So that's something that has to happen on a constant basis. That was happening in October. And in addition to that, I also started putting together a deck for the first conference that the Science Talk presented had. So there is this amazing conference called WOW Physics, which is Women of World Physics. And it was hosted by, in 2022, it was hosted by University in Frankfurt or Institute in Frankfurt, I think. So I delivered my first talk. That was at the beginning of November as the Science Talk, and it was about building your brand on Twitter as a materials or nanoscientist or as a scientist as a whole. And it was around the time when all this fiasco was happening thanks to Musk Boy. Of course, everything that I shared in that talk is also transferable to other platforms. So it's not just Twitter focused. Similar things go for Mastodon or LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever platform you use. So if you missed the talk, which I guess most of you did, please go to the show notes and you can watch the talk in the show notes. And that brings us to November, and a lot happened. It's basically over the course of October and November. October is when I also started thinking maybe I should do live streaming as well, because I do have a wealth of knowledge or experience by now in maintaining or creating the science communication platform. And I have a lot of transferable skills which I would like to show with the other people, be it creating graphics, be it editing videos, or editing a website on WordPress. There are quite a lot of things which I can share with other science communicators. So if you are interested, please join our mailing list, because that is something that we started in November. I did I think 2 or 3 live streams. I don't remember, just to play around and just to see how it goes and if I like it or how much work it is for me. And I must say it is a lot of work. Even recording this video is also a lot of work, but I'm happy to do it because, well, this is my passion project. Live streaming is something that started. And another thing that started was our collaboration with Zeke's Art for the Geeks, Art for Geeks. I got in touch with the director of Zeke's, Elizabeth Cooler. Shout out to Elizabeth. We basically wanted to do something together. And we managed to do it. So yeah, that was something really special. That is something really special. Elizabeth or Zeeks makes beautiful visualizations from scientific data, and we had our Christmas giveaway thanks to Zeeks, which was quite a fun quiz for us. We gave away a £10 voucher to the winner, and also I must mention our patron. We got one patron, shout outs to Jose, who has been also the curator of Real Scientist Nano Twitter and has been a guest on Under the Microscope as well. So yeah, speaking of Patreon, I must admit that once I started going to the market with my offerings or my ideas or the business model, so to say, there was a bit of bitterness or criticism from the scientists themselves, because for some reason, scientists or universities, they just expect science communication opportunities to be presented to them for free. I'm sorry, but that's not how the science talk works. That's not how the science talk can work or sustain. And it's important to recognize that there is a lot of work that goes on in maintaining the science talk, and there is a lot of behind the scenes work, effort, and ideas that go into it. And of course, I'm generalizing, but yes, that is the experience that I have had so far. Sorry, but I refuse to let myself and my team to continue to work for free. That's something that's just a no-go. Unpaid labor is overrated, and I'm not here to support it. Neither should you. No one should do that. Even as a scientist, you should not support unpaid labor, unpaid work. And yeah, think about it this way. If you go to a conference, you are paying the registration fees. Why are you paying the registration fees? Because a lot of work goes on in organizing such a conference. Same logic goes for the science talk. All right, the rant is over. Positive side, we had the Christmas giveaway thanks to Zeeks, who make gorgeous science in addition to a bunch of other things, so do check out their website as well. And that brings us to December. Yes, so we almost have a sponsor for 2023. It's a company, and soon I'll be able to share who that company is and what is the kind of content or collaboration this will be with you all. So yeah, that's basically it. This is all that happened, or like some of the highlights or shortcomings or pitfalls that we went through in 2022, and we are looking forward to 2023. All our guests in 2023, all our sponsors and collaborators in 2023, really looking forward to it, and really hoping that the next year I record this review of 2023. Hopefully we are financially sustainable. The science talk is financially sustainable. It is running smoothly, and you can actually help with that for free. If you want to pay, if you want to be a patron, feel free to be our patron as well. But please engage with the content on the Science Talk YouTube channel, or with the Under the Microscope podcast on whichever platform you listen to the podcast. And yes, thank you very much, and have a wonderful start of 2023. Bye.